He had everything money could buy. Private tutors, the best schools, every luxury at his fingertips. But when it came to the one thing that mattered most, he failed again and again. His father's shame grew louder, his classmates whispered, and the world saw him as nothing more than a disappointment. But in the shadows of his mansion lived someone no one ever noticed, the maid's daughter. She carried a truth that could change everything. The question was, would anyone believe her? Before it was too late? The mansion stood like a monument to wealth. Glass walls, polished marble floors, chandeliers that spilled light across every room. Inside, the billionaire's son, Adrian, drifted through his days like a ghost. Teachers came and went, each one leaving frustrated, defeated. No matter how hard they tried, his test papers told the same story: failure. His father, a man whose empire was built on brilliance and calculation, looked at him with growing disappointment. The weight of expectation crushed Adrian, yet he could not break free. But while the world inside the mansion sparkled with privilege, another world quietly existed in its corners. In the servants' quarters lived Maya, the maid's daughter. She was sharp, curious, and carried a hunger for knowledge that no tutor ever taught her. Books were her escape, borrowed in secret, read late into the night by a dim lamp. She watched Adrian stumble through lessons that seemed so simple to her, yet no one dared to say the truth out loud. The boy with everything was trapped in failure. The girl with nothing held a secret that could unlock his mind. And soon, the walls that separated their worlds would begin to crack, revealing truths no one in that mansion ever expected. Adrian sat at his oversized mahogany desk, staring at the ink on his exam papers. Numbers and words blurred together, meaningless scribbles mocking him. His tutors had left again, muttering that he wasn't trying, that he simply didn't care. But Adrian did care. He just couldn't make sense of the world on the page. From the hallway, Maya passed silently, carrying a basket of linens. She paused for a moment, watching him with quiet curiosity. She saw not arrogance, not entitlement, but loneliness. That night, when the house was still and the family asleep, Adrian slipped into the garden. He thought no one noticed, but Maya was already there, her book open on her lap, lips moving as she whispered through the lines. Adrian froze, startled. He had never seen her reading before. In this house, books were treasures meant for him, not for the maid's daughter. Yet here she was, devouring knowledge he couldn't grasp. Days passed, and Adrian's failures grew heavier. His father's voice thundered louder, his mother's silence cut sharper. Maya continued her quiet rituals, helping her mother with chores, then vanishing into corners of the estate with her books. Slowly, Adrian's curiosity pulled him toward her. One evening, he broke the unspoken barrier. "How do you do it?" His voice was almost a whisper. Maya looked up, startled, then wary. She knew the risks of being caught. Servants didn't step into the world of their master's children. But she also saw the desperation in his eyes. At first, she resisted. But Adrian kept watching her, not with the gaze of superiority, but with the eyes of someone drowning, reaching for anything that could save him. Finally, she opened her secret. A different way of learning, one no tutor had ever tried. Stories instead of drills, pictures instead of endless numbers, rhythm instead of repetition. For the first time, Adrian listened, not as a billionaire's son, but as a boy searching for a lifeline. And for the first time, Maya spoke freely, her words shaping the cracks of a bond neither of them had expected. But the walls of the mansion weren't blind. Whispers began to spread among the staff. If his father found out the truth, that his son was learning not from scholars but from the maid's daughter, the consequences could be devastating. The storm came without warning. Not in the sky, but inside the mansion. Adrian's father returned home earlier than expected, footsteps echoing like thunder down the marble hallways. He pushed open the study doors and froze. His son sat at the desk, not with a tutor, but with Maya beside him. A notebook lay open, filled with sketches and rhythms that made sense of the lessons that once seemed impossible. Adrian's face was alight with understanding, a spark of pride he had never shown before. But his father didn't see progress. He saw betrayal. His voice cut through the room like a blade. "What is this?" Maya lowered her eyes, her hands trembling. Adrian tried to speak, but the weight of his father's anger was suffocating. In the man's world, knowledge was a commodity reserved for those who could afford it. For the maid's daughter to cross that line, it was an insult, a scandal. "You dare," his father thundered, "to put my son's future in the hands of her?" Adrian's chest tightened. For years he had lived under this shadow of expectation, never daring to push back. But now, with Maya standing beside him, he felt a strength he hadn't known before. She had shown him not just how to learn, but how to believe he could, and he would not let her be cast aside. The silence stretched, heavy, dangerous. Every second felt like the edge of a cliff. Maya waited for the dismissal, for the punishment, for the certainty that her world would shatter. But instead, Adrian's voice finally rose, not shaky, not hesitant, but firm. "She's the only one who's ever helped me understand." The words hung in the air, fragile yet unbreakable. The father's face hardened, but the truth had been spoken. And once spoken, it could not be erased. This was no longer about failing tests. It was about who deserved to be seen, who deserved to be heard. The line between privilege and invisibility had been crossed, and nothing in that mansion would ever be the same again. The house never returned to its old silence. Whispers traveled through the halls about Adrian's defiance, about Maya's courage, about a truth that refused to stay hidden. His father's anger lingered, sharp and unrelenting, but something had shifted. Adrian no longer carried his shame in silence. He studied with a focus he had never known, and each time he grasped a new lesson, he thought of Maya's patience, her way of making the impossible feel simple. Maya, however, carried a different weight. Every day she worked, she braced for the moment her mother might be dismissed, that the cost of helping Adrian would be her family's livelihood. Yet she didn't regret a single word, a single hour she had spent teaching him. She had given him a gift his wealth could never buy, the belief that his mind was not broken, only misunderstood. Weeks later, when Adrian's grades rose and teachers began to take notice, it was clear to everyone that he had changed. But no one outside those walls knew the truth. No one applauded Maya. No one recognized her brilliance. She remained invisible in the eyes of privilege, just a maid's daughter who dared to do what others thought impossible. Adrian knew better, and for the first time, he began to question everything he had been taught about worth, about status, about who mattered. He realized that knowledge, compassion, and resilience weren't defined by wealth or power. They were born from struggle, and Maya embodied them all. That night, standing alone in his room, Adrian whispered the truth to himself. She had saved him. And one day, he promised, the world would know it too. But Maya's story wasn't just hers. It was the story of countless others, voices silenced, brilliance overlooked, lives confined by barriers they never built. The question that remained was not whether Maya could teach or whether Adrian could learn. The question was far larger. How many more gifted minds will the world ignore simply because of the color of their skin or the weight of their background? And how long will we allow their brilliance to remain hidden in the shadows?